everyone, it's Alice and I'm here today with our July mid-month wrap-up. So normally I have quite a few books to talk about in our mid-month wrap-up. This month I've only got 3 to talk about. I'm actually halfway through another 3 books and I was hoping to get at least one of them finished by today so that I could talk about a couple more books with you. But I'm fitting this in. I've recently started a new job and I'm in my training period, so I'm travelling to a training store on the bus. It means I've got a lot more reading time, but it means that I don't have a lot of filming time. So we're filming this on the 11th. Normally we wouldn't actually film this until either the 14th or the 15th, so it's like actually in the middle of the month. But I would be too exhausted to do that, so I'm going to film it on my day off for you. Just talk about these 3 books, but hopefully talk about them in a coherent way. So the first book I'd like to talk to you about this month is Glorious Rock Bottom by Bryony. It's quite hard to talk about this one because it is non-fiction, and I'm not somebody who reads non-fiction very often, so I don't always know what I want to say about it. What I will say about this one is that it's very emotional. So if you're somebody who likes emotional books, and you're interested in reading more memoirs and more non-fiction writing, then this might be a good one for you. This follows Bryony as she confronts the fact that she is an alcoholic and decides to take the step to attend rehab and to give up alcohol. So it's as Bryony has her moment when she realises she's hit rock bottom. So not only does this book chronicle Bryony's life in rehab, but it also chronicles some of the experiences that she got up to when she was drinking alcohol, and those events that caused her to realise that drinking alcohol was not something that was healthy for her. It's very emotional, even if you're not somebody who struggled with alcohol or drugs, because the way that Bryony talks about the fact that she feels like she's wasted her life. She's like, I'm a mother, and I'm in my late 30s, and I shouldn't be wasting my life like this. I should be doing more. And I think something about that really hit home with me. That idea of like, oh God, like you only get one life and you really should live it to the full. You shouldn't just coast along and hope that life will eventually change, because you need to be the one that grabs the bull by the horns and changes your own life. So that was a very inspirational message. This does make me want to read more of Bryony work because her voice is very companionable. Like, she isn't ashamed to allay like her worst fears, and she's not ashamed to really dive into how dark her mindset was. So it does feel like a conversation with a friend while you're reading it. I gave this one 4 stars because, again, I don't really read non-fiction that often, so it takes an awful lot for me to rate non-fiction 5 stars, but this is a very solid read. The next book I'd like to talk about is The Fandom Rising by Anna Day, and unfortunately this was a 1-star read for me, and this was definitely not worth the read. I was a little bit concerned about reading this one because The Fandom is just over 400 pages, and this is just under 300, and I always find that if the sequel is a lot shorter than the first book, it normally disappoints me. This was the perfect example of that. The first 100 pages just regurgitate everything that happened in book 1. So you've then got 180 pages for the plot of book 2 to actually pan out. It's rushed, it's incoherent, it suddenly splits into a dual perspective. So you've got 2 characters' viewpoints, but they're very similarly written. So similarly written, in fact, that there are a couple of instances when one of the characters will refer to themselves in the 3rd person because the author is clearly writing it as though she's writing the other character. And the background characters call them by the wrong names. So in Alyce's chapter, she'll get called Violet. And it's like, if even the copy editors and the editors and the authors aren't picking up on these really simple mistakes, that shows that the characters aren't very unique and the viewpoints don't stand out from each other, because otherwise that would be the kind of jarring thing that you would pick up on when you were going through those copy edits, and you would fix them. So that really annoyed me. I thought the ending of the book was very cheap. It sets it up so that there could be a 3rd book, but it didn't need a 2nd one, and now all of a sudden there might be a 3rd one. One of the characters gets absolutely shafted, and I was so angry because it's completely unnecessary and it doesn't need to happen. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It baffles me that they thought that this was a good follow-up to the first book. The first book I gave 3 stars, I think. Either 3 or 3.5, 4. Because I love the concept. Basically, there's a book series that is so popular that somehow the fandom makes the world become real in like an alternative universe setting. So these fans end up getting sucked into the world of this book that they love. So they're interacting with the characters and they're interacting with the story. And then they come out of the world and they write a sequel to give these characters this happy ending because they've met these people and they've been in this world and they want it to be happy for them because they know it's real. It's a great concept. It's just really shoddy execution because the first book, I didn't like some of the language. There's a lot of slut shaming. There's a lot of like just teen vocabulary that doesn't feel authentic. It just feels like somebody who doesn't know how to write teens is just like, oh yeah, they would definitely say things like cockwomble. I mean, I know some people do say cockwomble, but it's not that common. But there's lots of very odd, not real swear words sprinkled throughout it. I can't think of any other examples, but that kept throwing me out of the story. Honestly, I read this in like 2 sittings because I read this on the bus, but if I'd been reading it in my spare time or I'd had like a spare book with me, I would not have finished this. It was that bad. I would have DNF'd it even though it was only 280 pages. So yeah, not a huge success for me. But the third book I'd like to talk to you about today is Twitch by MG Leonard, and this one was a huge success for me. This one was a 4-star read. So Twitch follows a boy called Twitch, and he is unpopular at school. He's obsessed with birds, he keeps pigeons and chickens, and he gets into a fight with the new kid because the new kid's like threatening to kill a pigeon to look cool. So Twitch obviously saves the pigeon and gets a lot of vitriol for that. But he's like unapologetically himself, and I love that. And I think for a middle grade to be like, look, even if you're getting really, really bullied because you've got an intense interest in a very specific niche subject, like, don't let that stop you being interested in that subject. Because I used to do a lot of gardening with my granny when I was younger, and I loved birds and I loved insects and nature and all those things. I was very intensely interested in them, and I had like quite a good knowledge of it all, but people thought that was weird, so I buried my interest in that, and that's something I really regret now. So I do think that if I'd read Twitch when I was younger, it would have been a brilliant book, and Twitch would have been a great role model for me. So I'm hoping that other people will also get that. This wasn't a 5-star for me because there's a mystery to it. So there's a robber who has escaped from prison, and Twitch like gets involved in the hunt for this robber because the police are looking for them in the nature reserve where Twitch goes to do his bird watching. And Twitch gets dragged into this very chaotic and wild robbery story, and it was a lot of fun, but I struggled to suspend my disbelief enough because I don't know, it's a middle grade, so it's meant to be silly, but it just was a little bit too silly for me, and I also found it quite predictable at points. That being said, this was the first MG Leonard book that I read, and I did really like her writing style. I would be interested in reading more in the future, and I'm glad that I've already got Beetle Boy because I will end up picking that up as well. But if you are somebody who has a young person in your life who has an intense interest in something that isn't the most common or popular, I would definitely recommend this one for them because it might give them that sense of like belonging, if in a sense. I like it. And that was it for today's video, actually. Short but sweet, quick, very, very quick mid-month wrap-up. Hopefully we'll have some more books to talk to you about at the end of the month because I am hoping to finish off the 3 that I'm in the middle of and squeeze another couple in. And also my training will be over before the end of the month, so I'll be in my hometown and I won't have a ridiculous commute to work every morning, so I will have more energy to film in the evenings, so we will be back to a more regular schedule. If you like this video, please like it. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd be super duper grateful. We post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, so we will see you again in a couple of days with another video. And remember to let me know down in the comments if you have read any of these books recently and share your thoughts on them, see if we agree, disagree. I can imagine a lot of people loved The Fandom Rising, so that's going to be an unpopular opinion. But yeah, that's it from me today. Bye! I struggled to suspend my belief quite enough. Suspend my disbelief? I can't remember which way around that phrase was. I struggled to suspend my disbelief enough.